You trade coins for tokens. With Verge currency, you spend currency. The new iOS wallet, now available on the App Store.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Turn 3 Racing Network. As tonight we're here at Richmond Raceway for the Upstate Racing League, fueled by Verge, as they present the Rumar Vinyl Designs 125. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and as always, my name is KR Stolfus, and I'll tell you what, I got in the booth with me someone very special, near and dear to my heart. That is none other than Kelly Dahl. How you doing out there tonight, Kelly?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad. Hearing some of the guys down south have got some snow, which is surprising because, you know, it's nice and warm up here. So, you know what? I'll leave the snow down to the south and enjoy the weather for once.
Well, you enjoy that weather up in that, we're at west coast of Canada, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you got there eventually there, Kate.
Oh, I was trying to say, I thought it was British Columbia, but I wasn't sure.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, but I knew it was on the left side of the map. See, I know some things. But anyway,
there's some things, just not a lot of things.
Yeah. Anyway, we got some outstanding racing coming your way here tonight as the drivers are in the final 4.5 minutes left of this first warm-up session. This is race number 2 of the chase. And Kelly, race number 1 was, kind of interesting in how the points shook out. Race number 2 probably going to shake things up a little bit more.
Yeah, race 1 definitely shook things up, like you said, because as soon as we got the green flag, we had a big wreck that took out a couple of our chase contenders. I believe it was Bill Martin, Joe Schaefer, and if I remember correctly, it might have been Scott Austin and Brian Hacker as well. They have gotten involved, and I think we had a couple others. Actually, no, I think Hacker might have been at Daytona. If I remember, I know we had a couple guys that missed the race to go to Daytona, but now got everyone here. We got a nice big field for this race, and Richmond, if it's like Iowa, the race we had there at the start of the season, this should be a fantastic race.
Our point standings for our chase drivers as they head into this race. Stefan Marinak ahead of Justin McDuff by 6 points. Chris Stump only 11 points out of the top spot. Guillaume Fortin and Jim McIntyre going to round out your top 5. Joe Schaefer, who came in with the number 1 seed, falling all the way down to 6th. Bill Martin in 7th. Scott Austin 8th. 9th, Brian Hacker and Justin Fuller going to round out our chase drivers.
And we do have a kind of a second championship to talk about, and that's our Best of the Rest championship, awarded to whoever places the highest out of the drivers that did not make the chase. And currently leading that championship is the boss man himself, Al Smith Jr. Second place, we've got Hugo Paquette, only 8 points back, and then Brian Rogers sitting about 28 points back. That's kind of your main 3 contenders.
So the points very close for that top spot in both the chase and the Best of the Rest. Anything can happen, and we still have quite a few races left to go in this season. Tonight, as I mentioned, we will be at Richmond Raceway. You can see already drivers just finding the limits of their cars. It will be an exciting night. Short track racing with these super late models on this Richmond track. I'm looking forward to it.
And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was Bill Martin that won at Iowa. So keep an eye on him here tonight and see what he can do, because Bill Martin, not only did he win at Iowa, believe he won pretty handily as well. I have to see if I can pull up the results of that race real quick, because I mean, I remember Bill just absolutely dominating that race and setting a tone for the rest of the season. And looking back, it was actually a close race between him and Cody McCauley, but out of 109 laps, Bill Martin led 109 laps.
Well, some track facts here about Richmond. Stefan Marinak is the only active driver to have a win at Richmond Raceway, and this night makes it the 5th appearance that Upstate Racing League has come to Richmond. These drivers have been around here quite a few times, and well, they have the track figured out is what I'm about ready to say.
Yeah, but we did not go to this track last season. There was a bit of a season gap between going here, but we are coming back, and like you said, keep Marinak is one that could possibly win this. I mean, he is a strong driver. He's currently leading the championship, has won here before, but right now he's sitting kind of midfield in terms of practice times.
All right, tonight's events are going to be brought to you by the Western Super Series. All our heat races are sponsored by the Western Super Series. And it features fixed super late models on Tuesday nights, and it's brought to you by the people of Narrative Coffee. Not only do we have the Western Super Series, but qualifying, which is getting ready to kick off, sponsored by Arts Barbershop Quick Clip Time Trial Award. One of these drivers is going to win that time trial award, make it straight in to the main event, and start the race in 8th place, as 8 drivers will be inverted based off of our top 8 qualifying times.
Yeah, so the top 10 will skip the first heat and go directly into the feature. And like you said, the top 8 will be inverted. So really, it's kind of, you want to try to figure out a way to get 8th place without dropping all the way out into the heat. So we'll see what these guys are going to do, if these guys are just going to go hard and try to go for the quick clip award, or if there's maybe someone that's going to hold off just a little bit and see if they can get that time. But we're going to wait and see when these times are going to roll in. Drivers just taking the green flag on their individual laps now.
Right now, I'm watching the 42 of Brett Bartels as he works his way down into 3 and 4. That 42 machine looking to make it into the top 10. Oh, big wiggle off of turn number 4.
Yeah, time's starting to roll in now. Justin McDuff with the quick time of 21.370. Al Smith Jr. as well, another good time, 21.384. Joe Schaefer now puts in a quick time along with Matt McLean, so Joe Schaefer now holding on to pole position.
Just 2 laps in this qualifying session to lay down your best lap time. I think it was 2 minutes in total to get it in, wasn't it?
Yes, it is 2 minutes. Now
Time
Bill
flies
Martin,
when you're having fun.
Bill Martin as well putting down now the new fast time. That is a very quick time, 21.294.
Justin Fuller in the 51 rolling out to try and log his lap time. He is on his first time lap, and with 10 seconds left to go in this session, he is just going to make it across the start-finish line.
Yeah, that was something that caught out a couple of drivers earlier on this season, thinking that they'll have the time to make it through their whole set of laps, but just coming up short as the time expires. But Bill Martin will win the Arts Barbershop Quick Clip Award.
So Bill Martin making it straight into the main event, and our first and only heat race of the night starting to take to the grid. And that means we are going to bring you our best colorful creations starting lineup. Jimmy McIntyre in the 81 machine on the front row inside, with Brian Rogers on his outside.
Row 2, we're going to see the 72 of Andy Lambert on the inside and the 42 of Brett Bartels on the outside.
Row 3 will be the 90 of Matt Roll and the 1 of Jeremy Carpenter.
Row number 4, we're going to see 68 of Ty Cole, and I believe the 31 of Brad Carpenter. Actually, no, Brad Carpenter not in the server right now, so he better hurry up or else he's gonna miss his starting spot.
And then the final row in our heat race here tonight, the 98 of Chris Stump and the 18 of AJ Hamill. And it looks like AJ Hamill not on the grid yet either.
And I believe we got Jeremy Watkins also tagging on to the end of this this heat race. So we will have 11 cars on this heat if everyone comes to the grid. We're still missing Carpenter and Hamill. And I believe they just got the cutoff, so you might have missed it. Or no, I think we're still waiting a few more seconds. So Hamill better get in here. There is AJ Hamill. So AJ Hamill going to be able to start this event, but looks like Brad Carpenter will not be back in time.
So as the drivers begin to roll out here at Richmond for our first Western Super Series heat race of the night, Jimmy McIntyre in the 81 going to be taking control of the field when the pace car drops off.
So he will have to wait for the green flag to fly before taking off, but you will have that the advantage of having the inside line going through turns 1 and 2. And if I remember correctly, Iowa, we did see the outside line start to come in later in the race, but I believe that inside line is going to be the place to be, especially early on in this short heat race. But pace car now diving out of the way, and we're going to get set to race for the first time here tonight. Or sorry, no, we're doing 2 laps here tonight.
2 laps behind the pace car, getting these engines up to temperature. Tires get a little bit warmer, get some of that grime off of the racetrack. That 81 Zumongo machine and the 12 of Brian Rogers. Brian Rogers Motorsports also sponsoring our Rookie of the Year challenge. Stout field of rookies all season long, and it has been something we have talked about time and time again. And that award for the Rookie of the Year, as I mentioned, being sponsored by that 12 machine, Brian Rogers Motorsports pace car. Down and away, Jimmy McIntyre, Brian Rogers, green flag, here we go for our 10-lap heat race.
And McIntyre getting that good line into turn 1, but we'll see if Rogers is going to be able to carry off some momentum off the corner. And he does have a bit of a run. Gonna lift though. He doesn't try to force the issue here early on. These guys all make it into the show. And now here comes the 12 again with some momentum, but again, lifting off and just content to stay behind the 81 for the time being.
So single file, the field gets very quickly. The 12 of Rogers looking down to the inside. Meanwhile, the 72 of Andy Lambert taking a peek to the inside of the 12. Nothing there just yet. Sitting in 4th place, that is Brett Bartels in the 42, with the 90 of Matt Roll right behind him, rounding out the top 5.
McIntyre currently just cruising in his position right now, but he's got to keep an eye on that 12. He showed some speed earlier on, but now starting to drop back a little bit, and that might allow Lambert to maybe make a move at some point.
Bartels getting into the wall a little bit. That's going to allow the 98 of Chris Stump to try and make a pass on the high side here. So we're going to get our first look at how this upper lane is going to work, as Chris Stump trying very hard to pass the 42 of Brett Bartels in that lane.
And he's just trying to keep that 42 down on the racetrack, kind of cut off that corner exit and limit the momentum that 42 is going to get off the corner. And these two cars currently completely even up. Now the 98 surging ahead off of turn 2, but not quite clear just yet. Oh, and he's going to try to come down, going to get clipped, but a great save from the 98, still working on holding on to that car. And he is going to keep that thing pointed in the right direction. So some great wheel work for Chris Stump.
Ooh, and the 90 of Matt Roll's going to get into the back of the 42, but somehow everyone straightens it out and we keep rolling. And that was a break that the 98 of Chris stuck to the front we go. Jimmy McIntyre has led all 6 completed laps of this heat race. 4 laps to go. And this is quickly wrapping up. The 72 of Andy Lambert has moved into second place, with the 12 of Brian Rogers now in third.
And Rogers showed some speed for the first couple laps, but ever since he's slowly kind of moved back a little bit, and that's allowed Lambert to get past him. And now Lambert trying to chase down McIntyre, but with the amount of laps left, I don't think Lambert's going to catch a.
So McIntyre now with 2 laps to go, pulling away from Andy Lambert. Chris Stump in the 98 trying to reel in the 12 of Brian Rogers, but he is quickly running out of time and a big gap to make up. But Chris Stump started deep in this heat race and has moved his way up into 4th.
And white flag is in the air, and Chris Stump started 9th, moved up to 4th, but not without a fair bit of drama. And really, that's kind of might help him at the end of this in the actual feature race, because he will have that experience. But now Jimmy McIntyre coming off of turn 4 for the final time, and he will win our Western Super Series heat race.
Andy Lambert going to finish in second, Brian Rogers third, Chris Stump fourth, and drivers moving right on into the warm-up session here in Richmond for the Rumar Vinyl Designs 125. And guys, we're going to take a moment, step away, and play our national anthems.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rackets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave
Welcome back to the Upstate Racing League Pro Late Model Series, sponsored by Verge Currency. Verge is a cryptocurrency designed for people and for everyday use. It improves upon the original Bitcoin blockchain and aims to fulfill its initial purpose of providing individuals and businesses with a fast, efficient, and decentralized way of making direct transactions while maintaining your privacy. Taking a look now at Bill Martin, the winner of our Quick Clip Time Trial Award with a very fast qualifying time.
That 39 machine never disappoints in laying down a quick lap or finding a way to get to the front, but he's going to need some good fortune to make up some of this lost ground that he has found himself in.
That's the thing. I mean, you get the fastest time. However, you are going to start 8th, and that's going to make it so that Bill Martin is going to be forced to work his way up through the field. But I mean, I keep going back to Iowa, but that's because this track is so similar to Iowa. I believe one was based on the other. I can't remember which came first. So they're very similar tracks. So if Iowa is any indication, Bill Martin is going to be quick here tonight.
That he is, and drivers having a little pre-race fun here. Bill Martin, the recipient of several love taps from the 17 of AJ Rogers and the 6 of Joe Schaefer coming in there as well. The 11 machine of Brian Hacker right now, he is running his practice laps, trying to get all the laps in that he can. This 11 rolled out as soon as that track went green. Now it looks like he is finally going to pull in and take a little break. AJ Hamill in the 18 machine missed his heat race, but fortunately everybody who shows up is going to make the show here tonight. Our top 10 drivers in qualifying transferred straight into the main event, and that is where they will start based on the 8-car invert. I'll spit it out sooner or later. And then the remaining 2 cars will start 9th and 10th. And then how they finished in the heat race is how the drivers are going to start from 10th on, or I should say 11th on back. Ty Cole in the 68 machine out in his warm-up session. Cole currently has the 13th quickest lap time. And as we're coming up on 2 minutes left in this session, I do want to point out that tonight's aerial coverage is provided by Austin Designs. You can find Austin Designs on Facebook. You are in the need for some iRacing graphical paint schemes. Austin Designs is one place to look.
The one thing going into this race to keep in mind is that big wreck that we had last week. I mean, it was right off the drop and it took out a number of our chase competitors and just really put them on the back foot to start the chase. And I'd expect those guys to basically start the race here tonight and just immediately try to run out to the front and just get ahead and try to just make up any ground they lost. So Joe Schaefer and Bill Martin, those are 2 names you're going to have to watch and see what they're going to do when this race starts.
Speaking of this race, tonight's race is sponsored by Rumar Vinyl Designs. It is the Rumar Vinyl Designs 125. Rumar Vinyl Designs does all types of vinyl graphics for outdoor and indoor use. Our vinyl products include banners, signs, yard signs, and interior decoration. That is Rumar Vinyl Designs. And Kelly, 125 laps here at Richmond could go pretty quick.
Yeah, especially when you're putting down 21-second lap times. I mean, 125 laps seems like a lot, but the way these cars move around this track, those laps will tick by faster than you think, and that's something the drivers have to keep in mind, that yeah, maybe there'll be 30 laps left in a race, but that'll be only something like, what, 10-15 minutes at that?
Yeah, when you're looking at right now, Bill Martin, his best lap time sitting on top of the speed chart for this practice session is a 21.246. This race could go very quickly, or could go really bad for a few drivers.
Well, now we are going to be heading to the grid, and any questions we may have had about this race are going to be answered very shortly.
That it is drivers starting to line up. And I say we go through our best colorful creations. Starting grid, Guillaume Fortin in the 13 machine on the inside of row number 1. On his outside, the 11 machine piloted by Brian Hacker.
Row number 2 on the inside, we're going to see the big boss man himself, the 96, Al Smith Jr., and to his outside, that's going to be the 20 of Justin McDuff.
Row 3 will be the 88 of Matt McLean and the 6 of Joe Schaefer.
Row number 4, we will see the 17 of AJ Rogers, and on his outside will be the 39 of Bill Martin.
Row 5, the 2 of Steph Marinak and the 51 of Justin Fuller.
Row 6, we see our heat race winner, the 81 of Jimmy McIntyre Jr., and the 72 of Andy Lambert.
Row 7, the 12 of Brian Rogers Jr. and the 98 of Chris Stump.
Row 8, we'll see the 42 of Brett Bartels and the 1 of Jeremy Carpenter.
Row number 9, the 68 of Ty Cole and the 90 machine of Matt Roll.
And then row 10, we'll see the 71 of Jeremy Watkins. Brad Carpenter, again, not here, so then we will have AJ Hamill just tucking in right behind Watkins, starting in 21st place.
That is your best colorful creations starting a lineup. 20 cars on the grid for this 125 lap event. The 13 machine of Guillaume Fortin still looking for his first win of the season. He's going to have a nice starting spot to pull that off.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that is in a good position here in the chase. I mean, he's only 16 points behind Marinak, and now starting on the pole. That's really going to help the 13's campaign for the championship.
Row number 2 has Justin McDuff in the 20. He came into tonight second place in the point standings. We'll see how this 20 machine fares starting from the second row, but pace car down and away. Here we go as we get ready to go green flag racing. Guillaume Fortin and Brian Hacker in the 11 machine. Green flag is out, and we are underway here at Richmond for the Rumar Vinyl Designs 125.
And Fortin immediately getting ahead and getting to that inside line. Brian Hacker now dropping down behind him, and these two have broken away as the rest of the field tries to shuffle for position. Al Smith holding onto that inside line, now finally getting ahead of that 20 of McDuff. McDuff going to slot in behind the 96 and immediately looking to the inside of him, but here comes that 6 of Joe Schaefer trying to make a move on the outside early on.
Joe Schaefer in the 6 machine sporting a new paint job here tonight. White, blue, and black. All sorts of wonderful paint schemes out there week in and week out. I'm just glad my Trading Paints loaded up this new one for him.
And if I'm mistaken, that's, I believe, going to be a nod to Ryan Newman, who, as I'm sure everyone knows at this point, had a really just a terrible crash on Monday. Somehow is not only alive, but walked out of the hospital the other day, and really just kind of a fantastic thing to see, and really just a nod to the safety of this sport.
The 88 machine of Matt McLean. Right now he finds himself in 7th place. The 17 machine of AJ Rogers tucked in right behind him. And the yellow flag gonna come out as the 42 and the 68 get into trouble down the backstretch. Let's go to our turn 3 instant replay. and see what happened. These two cars find a way to get in trouble. The 68 of Ty Cole down on the inside of the 42 of Brett Bartels. The 68 got loose on the inside coming off of turn number 2, and both drivers going to smack that inside wall. And then the 42 of Brett Bartels is going to do a beautiful pirouette, although he may not say it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for that 42 machine, just an innocent bystander there, and really takes a hard hit to that inside wall. A lot of damage to that 42 machine, so that's going to really put a dampen on his chances here tonight.
So the lights come on the pace car for the first time, and both Brett Bartels and Ty Cole in their pit stalls. We'll see if they can get back out there, but those machines look to be pretty damaged. It is going to take some work to get them rolling.
And I didn't see either of them pop their engines, but that damage that they had to the front end probably will bring them down on power and just make it so they aren't a little bit more they're a little bit more sluggish out of the corner. And the big thing is, this isn't super aerodynamic dependent, but not only did they maybe damage the engine, they may have damaged the suspension, which would definitely slow them in the corners.
As we bring this race to a slow for the first time here tonight, as we look at our track information, the track length is 0.72 miles. Most people just call it a 3/4 mile. Track temp sitting at 79 degrees, a very gentle breeze at 2 miles an hour. I think the drivers can handle this track condition. 79 degrees, man, a lot of grip out there tonight.
And the grip is only going to increase as the night goes on, and that's going to kind of counteract the tire wear as the night goes on. These guys will not be able to switch tires at all. I know I mention it every week, but for those new here, they start on the tires and they have to finish on the tires, and there are penalties if they come down pit road and take tires instead of just taking service. I mean, they can come down and get fuel and they can get damage repaired, but if the car goes up into the air, I believe it is a 1-lap penalty for each side.
It is actually a 2-lap penalty for each side that goes up in the air.
Even worse.
As the field forms up behind the pace car, the 42 and the 68 still sitting on pit road. Things are looking grim for those two drivers. That will leave us with 18 out on the track for this start. The 13, the 11, the 96, and the 20. It's a repeat of the first start of the race. Green flag is out and we are back underway. And the 13 with a wonderful jump. Guillaume gonna clear the field easily. Now the 96 of Al Smith. He's looking to the inside of Brian Hacker.
Oh, big problems for the 20. And a huge crash. That's gonna take out a number of cars.
Big pile up on the back stretch, including our points leader, the 2 of Steph Marinac, but he gets rolling. Let's back this up and go to our turn 3 instant replay. That all starts with the 20 of Justin McDuff. He is working his way up off the corner, tagged the wall. Bill Martin nowhere to go. Steph Marinac trying to squeeze through. And man, somehow Bill Martin got through that one without too much damage. Taking another look at this one here. You see he jammed on the brakes hard trying to miss him. And Bill somehow saves it from slamming into that inside wall.
Yeah, we were talking about the 2 being involved. Did not look like he took much damage from it. However, he is going to come down pit road and take a look himself at how much damage that car has got. And really looked like he only got a couple of light taps. From what I could look at his car, it seemed like only his right front was just a little bit crinkled up in the bodywork. So I would expect that 2 car to be okay.
Justin Fuller getting involved with it, as well as Chris Stump. Looked like the 18 of AJ Hamill getting a piece of the action as well. As we go back live, The 13 and the 11 holding on to first and second place. Al Smith in the 96 going to restart in third. Those three haven't changed their positions. Now everyone there on back is all mixed up. The 6, Joe Schaefer sitting in fourth, and Bill Martin, after an outstanding job of trying to save it, he is going to restart fifth if he does not have to come down pit road.
And Brian Hacker has got to do a better job of his restart this time. He was kind of caught sleeping on that last start, and it almost cost him a position because he immediately just fell into the clutches of both the 96 and I believe it was the 6 was alongside him on that last restart, and they nearly both made him, or sorry, it was the 20. It was the 96 and the 20 that were alongside him and nearly tried to make a move on that 11. And really, Hacker has just got to get a better start here if he wants to keep his second place there. Really keep any sort of challenge for Guillaume.
I do want to point out that the 68 of Ty Cole has rejoined the race. He is 6 laps down, but that banged up machine is back out there. The 42 of Brett Bartels has gone behind the wall. It looks like it is going to be an early night for him. Now we've added another car torn up as well. The 18 of AJ Hamill still sitting in his pit stall. He might be done for the night.
And that incident kind of caught a lot of our cars here. That 18 machine is fairly banged up. I mean, as I mentioned though, the 2 did come down pit road. I saw him stop in his box and almost immediately go again. So he probably thought that his damage was much worse than it actually was. He probably came down pit road and the optional damage was probably only maybe just a couple seconds, because I saw him come in, he stopped, waited, and just almost immediately took off again.
With the lights going out on the pace car, the field going to restart this time single file. The 39 of Bill Martin got some heavy damage on the right front. We'll see how much that damage affects the handling of his car. We get ready to fire this one off. Kelly, take it away.
Pace car down and away, and 13 immediately getting off to a great start. And again, the 11 not getting on the throttle in time. And Al Smith had nowhere to go, wasn't able to make any sort of move, and had to check up for him since they were single file. Now the field all single file still. There is a bit of a battle though in further back in the field. Jeremy Carpenter under fire from that 2 of Steph Marinak, who just took off on that restart. Matt Roll started in 10th. He's dropped a number of positions. I think he's back in 13th or 14th after that. Yeah, it is going to be scored at 13th. Under fire though from the 98 of Chris Stum.
We go on aboard with the 96 of Al Smith as he is trying to find a way around this 11 machine of Brian Hacker. Al right now inside the top 5. If he can hold this position, that will be his first top 5 finish of the season, I believe.
And that would definitely help him trying to go for that best of the rest award, especially since Hugo Paquette is not here and Brian Rogers sitting currently in 8th place. So that'll just help Al Smith increase his lead, and now losing a bit of ground on Brian Hacker, and now Joe Schaefer kind of sizing him up, trying to look for a move. At the same time, Bill Martin right behind those two.
Yeah, Bill Martin all over the back bumper of the 6. Schaefer feeling that pressure. He's going to have to make a decision here, either to maybe use that front bumper or wait for an opening. Bill Martin may not be as patient, so a lot of pressure on the 6 right now, but the 96 Al Smith trying to reel in that 11 once again, close the gap on him, but here comes Schaefer with a peek down to the inside. Nothing materializing just yet. He's going to wait again through this corner. Bill Martin looking to pick whoever is going to win this battle and try and follow him.
Now here comes that 6 to the inside of the 96. Al Smith just going to stay high and stay out of the way. He knows he's not in the chase, not really wanting to play spoiler here, and he'll just let those 2 go by and slot in right behind. Now going to do a little bit of battle with Jim McIntyre, and actually no, he is going to get out of the way of McIntyre as well.
McIntyre in the 81 machine now finds himself inside the top 5. Al Smith falling to 6th place. The 72 of Andy Lambert not too far behind the 96 as we go on aboard with the 72. Andy Lambert started 12th, has moved his way forward just a little bit. He is now up into 7th place, and he is looking for more as he closes in slowly but surely on the 96.
And looking back up, Joe Schaefer has reeled in Brian Hacker, and at the same time, Bill Martin just following him along, knowing that Schaefer is fast. He's going to want to stay behind Schaefer until maybe they get up towards the front, and then try to do battle with him, as they're just trying to focus on trying to make those tires last. And now Hacker has got to worry about that 6 machine in his rear view mirror, as he's right on the bumper.
And they closed in very quickly on the 11 machine. Bill Martin, his fastest lap is a 21.481, and he's doing that in traffic. Brian Hacker with a 21.396. So Bill Martin and Joe Schaefer looking to be very stout here early on, but right now it is a 1-lane racetrack.
And we may see that change later on in the race, but at the moment, that inside line is the dominant line. We saw in the heat race that you are able to make a pass on the outside if you do it right, but I think a lot of these guys are going to prefer to move on the inside. Now here comes Schaefer. He's got his nose to the inside of that 11 machine. He's going to now make the move into turn 1.
Joe Schaefer down to the inside. Brian Hacker, big wiggle coming up off of turn number 2. And we see that time and time again here in these super late models. You start wiggling that rear end, you're lighting up the rear tires, and you are abusing them. Still a lot of laps here to go. Right at 100 laps to go in this event, and that is not something Brian Hacker wants to be doing for too much longer.
Yeah, it's something we saw a lot at Phoenix last week, and we saw the guys coming out of turn 2, and just lighting up the tires, getting the cars all wiggly, and then just as the race went on, it got worse and worse. Now here comes the 6 again, trying to make a move into turn 1 on the inside. That time he's going to get a better run through the start of the corner, and that's going to allow him to make the move on the 11. Bill Martin now trying to make a move as well and put the 11 of Brian Hacker down into 4th place, and looks like that inside line will prevail.
Justin Fuller in the 51 going to make his pass on the 12 of Brian Rogers as we ride on board with the 12 machine. And Fuller trying to make up for some lost ground as he was at Daytona last week, having to use his provisional to score the points, and the 12 machine being freight trained right now as 3 cars get around him in just a lap and a half.
Yeah, Brian Rogers now dropping down into 12th outside of the top 10. Gonna have to look to maybe bounce back, go after Rogers and stump, but that is a very tall task as both of these drivers are very quick.
Back to the lead we go, the 13 of Guillaume Fortin now finding himself seeing that lead disappear quickly as a hard charging 6, Joe Schaefer, closing in very fast on him. 21.721 Joe Schaefer last time around, Guillaume with a 21.959.
And this time around, the lead goes from half a second to 0.3 of a second. Joe Schaefer, once he got just that slight bit of clear track, just turned on the jets and started to chase down Guillaume. The question is he pushing too hard too early? Is Guillaume maybe just working on saving those tires? So this is something that a question we'll have to ask now, but we may not get an answer for another 80 laps.
Bill Martin following in this battle a little bit behind. Martin just a half second behind the 6 of Schaefer, and Schaefer looks like he's able to drive off the corner a little bit better than the 13, and that is going to pay dividends overall because that is a long straightaway for these super late models. A lot of speed to be gained by getting off the corner real good and sharp.
Yeah, if you're not spinning the tires off the corner, you're gonna get a lot of speed without sacrificing those tires. I mean, what I was maybe thinking is that 6 machine was diving hard into the corner entry, but taking a look at the entry between these 2 cars, it does seem like they've got a very similar entry speed, and it's just a bit of a difference on that exit. That might allow that 6 machine to get a lot of speed without killing the tires.
Guillaume really widening that exit off of turn number 4. Schaefer coming off a little bit flatter, That is allowing that 6 to get the clean air on his nose to help him turn a little bit on the exit. And Guillaume now really starting to feel the pressure as Schaefer right there. And again, he's going to take a peek to the inside. This time, maybe going to stick his nose all the way in. Joe Schaefer in the 6, going to make the pass, heading off into turn number 1.
And Guillaume decided just to stay out of the way and go for an attack maybe later on in the race, as we are only on lap 36. And we did just lose a driver. The 98 of Chris Stump unfortunately just had a disconnect, so that is going to cost that 98 machine a lot of points in the standings, as he was only 11 points behind Steph Marinak coming into this race. And now if things shape up this way, he will finish in 17th.
Take a peek at the 17 of AJ Rogers as he follows the 72 of Andy Lambert. Rogers picked up a win this season at 5 Flags. Here he would like to add another one, but he is finding himself in 9th place here tonight. Starting in 7th, has dropped back 2 spots. One of the drivers caught up in that big scrum on the backstretch.
Guillaume Fortin now coming under some pressure from that 39 of Bill Martin, and Martin has got to make a move on Fortin, and he's got to make it happen quick, because if he's stuck battling that 13 machine, Schaefer's just going to run away with this. The longer these two stay, those two are going to be side by side, the more ground that Schaefer is going to gain.
The 13 of Guillaume Fortin, as I watched him go through the corner there, looks like he really is trying to back the corner up a little bit more than everyone else and conserve his tires. We might see that 13 start surging back towards the front, deeper into the run, as the 39 of Bill Martin's going to scrape the wall down the front stretch a little bit. Going to lose a bit of momentum and some ground. He's got to make that back up.
And something that has kind of quietly happened while we've been talking to the front. Steph Marinak has come back from being involved in that pileup on the back straightaway, and he's now worked his way up into the top 5, sitting 5th at the time being, and was able to get around Smith and McIntyre, really, it seems like, without much fanfare.
And Steph Marinak now hunting down the 11 of Brian Hacker. That would be a pass for 4th place. And Steph running a new paint scheme here tonight. Black with the Orlando Magic on the hood. Kind of looks like a nice sharp paint scheme. I like that one a lot, even though really not sure what Orlando Magic is. Is that like a magician or something?
I don't know, I'm Canadian, I don't really watch basketball.
Oh, basketball. Yes, that's that's a sport. We got one engine up in smoke. That is the 68 of Ty Cole. And he is going to pull it onto pit road, and it looks like his night will be done. Ty Cole, the first incident of the night, along with Brett Bartels, and that engine has expired.
Yeah, we saw Bartels call it earlier on. Looks like Cole decided to try to come back out after repairing that damage, but it seems like he just had some major issues underlying in that engine, either overheated or something let go in that engine. And finally, it is going to clean the end of his night. So that will be a 17th place finish, as he was able to clock in enough laps to get around Chris Stump, but Ty Cole, that's going to be enough for him. And I believe I just saw maybe McDuff now coming down into pit road. And we saw Justin McDuff. He was kind of the cause of that incident earlier on, and he is actually taking a tow to the rest of the way. So I think that might be the end of the 20 as well, as Ty Cole actually just pulled it behind the wall. And yes, there goes McDuff as well. So that's huge in terms of the chase, because McDuff was our 2nd place chase driver coming into this race, only 6 points behind Marinak.
So the 6 of Joe Schaefer looking to capitalize on his competition's bad luck. Steph Marinak trying to recover. Marinak came in as our points leader. Justin McDuff was 2nd in the points standings, but now McDuff has gone behind the wall, and Joe Schaefer in that 6 machine, he is out front by almost 0.8 seconds over the 13 of Guillaume Fortin.
And Schaefer has definitely had some speed, but the question is, the way he's driving this car, is it good for his tires? I mean, we talked about that. It seems like his speed might be coming off corner exit, but if he is carrying all that speed off corner exit, he might be carrying just
The 13 of Guillaume, a little bit of an internet connection there as he dropped out, but got right back in. And Joe Schaefer continuing to lead. Guillaume led the first 35 laps, and for the last 14 laps, it has been all Joe Schaefer as he continues to lead here at Richmond. Schaefer is running very consistent lap times, not a lot of tire fall off. Well, I say that, but we're almost up to 1 second in total of fall off, and the 6 machine looking very solid right now.
And looking just behind them, Steph Marinak has made his way past Brian Hacker. He's now sitting in 4th. So, as we talked about earlier, he was involved in that incident, but didn't really take much damage. We saw him come down pit road, stop for only about a second or maybe 2 seconds, and then immediately come back out. So, obviously, not much damage to that car, and it's not affecting him one bit. He's charging with a 22.1 on his last lap, and that's actually faster than Joe Schaefer.
The only one faster this time around than Steph Marinak. Well, now it's 2 drivers, Guillaume Fortin and Joe Schaefer, turning the first 2 fastest laps that last time around. Marinak, though, is closing in on Bill Martin. Bill Martin driving with a wounded machine there. I think he was pushing it harder than he wanted to try and keep up with the 6. He has lost some ground to the 13 and has not really been able to gain it back.
Yeah, he's got a lot of damage to that right front, and what I'm thinking might have happened is it's maybe tightened up his car a little bit, or just kind of forced him to wear off that right front a little bit faster than everyone else, and that might come back to bite him, as by the end of this race, that right front may be toast. And at the moment, it seems at the very least that damage is holding him back from being able to compete with Fortin and Schaefer.
Our Arts Barbershop Quick Clip Time Trial Award winner started this race in 8th place, has moved up to 3rd, but now he is trying to wrestle this wounded 39 machine around this track. 3rd place, though, might be coming under attack as the 2 of Steph Marinak is closing in.
Yeah, Marinak about 1.4 seconds back, basically the same, or so I guess about a second and a half really between Marinak and Martin. That's just about the same gap between Martin and Schaefer. So Marinak still has quite a bit of an uphill climb, but he's been putting down some very consistent lap times, some very fast lap times, and at the moment looks like he is just barely faster than Bill Martin. So that gap is starting to close, but not closing very quickly.
Just behind Marinak, Brian Hacker in the 11 is under attack by the 81 and the 96. That is Jimmy McIntyre and Al Smith. As Al, big wiggle off of turn number 4. He's able to catch it, but man, was he sideways.
And Al just needs to kind of ease off a little bit, as it looks like McIntyre and Hacker might be trying to battle for that 5th place. And if Al's smart and just kind of plays his cards right, he might be able to jump one or maybe both of these guys as they battle it out for position. And as we come now onto lap 61, we would like to take a moment to honor a driver that we lost just a short time ago, Dan Dubuque, one of the league's founding members who sadly crossed life's finish line. Dan's career with the URL spanned the 2nd highest amount of starts at 97, consisting of a single top 5, 33 top 10s, and a best points finish of 5th. Dan was with Al from the very start of this league and is going to be truly missed as a friend, racer, and supporter. We race in his honor every week.
A lot of the drivers continue to carry the 61 badge on their car week in and week out. And here in just a few weeks, I believe it's actually the second to last race of the season is a race in Dan's honor, so we look forward to that one as well. But the 6 of Joe Schaefer continuing to lead, the 13 of Guillaume Fortin hanging tough with him. He has not fallen any further back, but he's also not gaining on him.
Yeah, these two are kind of matching each other kind of pace for pace right now. Fortin just about almost a tenth of a second faster on that last lap. It almost seems like Schaefer either is finally hitting that tire cliff or he's maybe easing off just a little bit, and I'm kind of thinking towards that second one. Got the lead, got a nice gap, and now he can kind of take his foot off the gas a little bit, maybe lift and coast a bit more, save those tires towards the end in case someone maybe gets a good run, or if a late caution does come out, he's got the tire life left to make that final push for the lead.
The 6 of Schaefer now has led for 30 laps here tonight, trying to close in on the total that Fortin led of 35. Every lap matters, every point matters, especially when you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole, and that 6 is wanting to lead as many laps as he can, lead the most laps here tonight.
And there are bonus points for laps led. Every point matters here in the chase, and 410 now, he has closed up that gap quite a bit. It's now only 0.4 of a second, and that last lap, Guillaume was actually 0.3 of a second faster than Schaefer, and Guillaume turning on the jets, trying to put some pressure on that 6, and we may see a battle for the race lead here in a few laps.
Want to check in on the 51 of Justin Fuller right now. He is under attack from the 88 of Matt McLean. McLean taking a peek to the inside. Fuller gonna let him have that lane, but he keeps it tight door to door off of turn number 2 down the backstretch. This is a battle for 10th place. Fuller using that high line, looks like he is going to fend him off for the moment. Both cars wiggle coming off of turn number 4, and Justin Fuller holds on to that spot.
Yeah, hard battle from both of those guys, but like you said, both of them wiggled off the corner. That time though, Fuller having a bit of a mistake off of turn 2, came out of the corner a little bit too low and clipped the apron, and that allowed that 88 to get right back up to the rear bumper. So battle for 10th place really heating up here between these two drivers.
Fuller trying to gain lost ground in the point standings as well. Came into tonight 10th place. Had to miss last week because he was at Daytona. Priorities, I guess, aren't the same. I personally would never, ever race online when I could go to Daytona.
We got to take a look here at the front. We were talking about Schaefer losing ground to Guillaume, and Schaefer has suddenly decided he's got to go fast now. His lap times were earlier 22.3, 22.4, around there. And as soon as Guillaume kind of closed up to him, he suddenly put the hammer down, and now dropping down to his fastest in these last few laps. Lap 70, he actually did a 22.051. So Schaefer does have some speed left in that car and was just kind of cruising for a little bit, saving the tires. And as soon as Guillaume got kind of within to his comfort zone, that's when Schaefer decided, all right, time to open this gap up again.
We look out the nose of the 13 of Guillaume as he follows in the tire tracks of the 6. Guillaume has had a solid season, one of our consistent finishers up near the front, and it is showing here again tonight as he has been either leading or in second place all night long. But Schaefer has finally passed that lead lap column or lap led category, and now he has led the most laps with 39.
And even if 410 comes home in second, that is going to help him kind of close up that gap to Marinak. 410 is 16 points back starting here tonight. Schaefer 27 points back, so it's really going to be a good points finish for both of them as long as Marinac isn't able to kind of close up this gap, is still about 1.2 seconds, maybe about 1.3 actually, behind Bill Martin.
Do want to point out that the 12 of Brian Rogers has pulled off the track and gone behind the wall. That will leave us with 13 cars out on the track as we started 20 here tonight. Attrition really taking its toll on these drivers here at Richmond. Jeremy Watkins being scored in 15th spot, 16th Justin McDuff, 17th Ty Cole, 18th Chris Stump, AJ Hamill 19th, and Brett Bartels our first victim to an issue here tonight.
And we've only had 2 cautions, so it was really that second caution that collected a large number of cars is what's kind of taken out a lot of these guys here. So it's not like we've had a huge wreck-filled race, it's just been that one big crash cost a lot of drivers.
Right now we're watching the 72 of Andy Lambert as he tries to track down the 17 of AJ Rogers. Rogers, a rookie in this Upstate Racing League Pro Series, and picked up a win, as I mentioned, at Five Flags. A plethora of rookies had picked up wins here this season. Joe Schaefer with 2 of them. Bill Martin picking up 2 wins as well. And so it really has been a year of the rookies coming out and showing some of these veterans how it is done.
And speaking of the rookies, we're going to take a quick look at our Brian Rogers Motorsports Rookie of the Year standings. And Bill Martin, he is coming into this race. He was our leader with about a 6-point gap over Joe Schaefer. So Schaefer, if he wins here tonight, will definitely put himself back into contention for that Rookie of the Year championship.
The 88 of Matt McLean pulled onto pit road and has now left pit lane and rejoining the race. So a 10-second pit stop for him. Not sure what he had stopped for, but he's getting back up there.
If I just heard race control right, I think he just maybe mentioned they might not have put in enough fuel in these cars. They had said this is a fixed setup race, and they were basically given a fuel load to start this race, but calculations may have been off, and this might throw in a bit of a pit strategy into this, as these guys may have to come down and top up the tanks.
For the moment, the 6 of Schaefer not showing signs of coming down pit road. The 13 of Guillaume still right there now, just under a half second behind him. Guillaume has been flirting with that half second to 0.7 seconds and anywhere in between. And maybe that's because the 6 of Schaefer is trying to stretch his fuel.
That could be it. I mean, I initially thought that his lifting and coasting was to save tires. It may have been to save fuel. And I'm sure these 2 guys up front, they're just going to try to run these things until they're dry and then come down pit road for a quick splash and dash. But Schaefer and Guillaume, they're going to be playing a very fine line. Oh, a bit of a wiggle from 410 as he kind of got on the throttle just a little bit too hard out of turn 4 there. But these 2 guys still putting down great lap times, and almost 2 seconds separate these front pair from Bill Martin.
Now, Bill Martin has steadily been losing ground to the 6 and 13, and Guillaume now right on the back bumper. He is close to within 0.3 seconds to the 6 of Schaefer. And with that little information about drivers having to hit pit road, that would really shake things up. And I just kind of wonder when we'll see more drivers hit pit lane.
Yeah, that's if that was the case. I mean, I was focused on looking at the point standings when race control came over. I'm just kind of piecing together kind of what I thought I heard, but if I'm correct, it is a warning that these guys don't have the fuel to make it, and that would make sense. We saw that 88 come down just for 10 seconds, and I wouldn't see any other reason why that car would come down pit road for that short period of time. I mean, if it was damage related, he probably would have stayed down there a lot longer. So That may have just been our first indicator that he was maybe trying to undercut these guys and take the fuel early.
17 of AJ Rogers is closing in on the 96 of Al Smith. This will be a battle for 7th place. Al started up in 3rd place here tonight, has fallen back to 7th. Still a good run for the 96 machine. The 81 of Jimmy McIntyre just in front of him. McIntyre in 6th place. He has been following in the tire tracks of the 11 of Brian Hacker now for several laps, and he is going to try and make it into that top 5. But I'll tell you, Brian Hacker, one of those drivers who does not like to lose any positions and typically fights very hard to stay where he's at.
Yeah, in that last lap, Hacker opened up the gap by nearly another 1/10 of a second. And looking just behind them, we got Al Smith Jr. now battling it out with AJ Rogers.
Yeah, and some of these speeds are changing very quickly. It almost appears as if some of them are just now realizing they might have enough fuel to make it if they try and conserve, but we still have 34, now make it 33 laps to go.
Yeah, I heard some more fuel talk over the radio. I think they just called out how much was needed to make it to the end. I wasn't able to catch the exact number, so more and more signs are kind of pointing towards the fact that this is becoming a fuel mileage race. And if that's the case, Fortan might be in a good spot, because I mean, he's kind of following Schaefer. He might have got a little bit of a draft and might save the fuel just enough to kind of help him.
Bill Martin has fallen to 2.2 seconds behind the 13 of Guillaume. That has allowed the 2 of Steph Marinac to really start closing in on him. Marinac now just 0.6 seconds off the back bumper of the 39.
And we'll have to see if Marinac's going to be able to push hard enough to catch Bill Martin before he maybe runs out of fuel. 0.6 of a second is all that separates those 2 cars now, as Bill Martin has got to be feeling the pressure from the 2, watching him slowly reel him in. Martin again, a little bit of a wiggle off of 4. We've seen that from a couple of drivers here tonight.
So Matt McLean has been the only one that has come down pit road so far. He lost 2 laps in the process. We'll keep a close eye on how this plays out for the 88, but McLean, as I mentioned, 2 laps down in 13th spot on track. He is right behind the 2 of Steph Marinac and ahead of the 11 of Brian Hacker. So if everyone has to pit, we'll see if that 88 coming down as early as he did will pay off or cost him. It could go either way.
Yeah, normally with the undercut, you're more looking at the lap times because of the different getting the fresh tires on. In fact, it might actually be kind of worse coming down early, because now you're going to be doing more laps with more fuel instead of running it dry and kind of getting that lighter car for that period of time. So we'll see if that's going to help or hurt him as well. And if a caution comes out, that 88 is toast. I mean, he'll get 1 lap back from everyone coming down pit road and him being able to get waved by, but I don't think he'll be able to get that 2nd lap. So it is definitely a risky play. And looking back towards the front, that gap between Fortan and Schaefer is kind of fluctuating. It was 0.3 last time around and nearly half a second this time around. So these guys are kind of playing with the gap a little bit.
Do want to point out that the 1 of Jeremy Carpenter is now the last car on the lead lap and just about 3 seconds ahead of our race leaders. They're working their way around to try and stay, well, shouldn't say stay, but they'll be coming into lap traffic here momentarily, and that could put a wrench in the battle.
That could definitely shake things up, especially if one of these guys struggles to get around the lap car. But considering how wide this track is and how the lap cars usually give way to leaders, I don't really see that 88 being too much of an issue. Not the 88, the 1 being too much of an issue if the leaders do catch them. That's also questioning if one, they'll catch it before the race ends, and two, if they have to pit before then.
As I look down the running order here, the 17 of AJ Rogers, who was battling with the 96 of Al Smith, the 72 of Andy Lambert has gotten around the 17, so maybe AJ Rogers, one of those drivers trying to stretch his fuel all the way to the end of this thing, as he has started to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, if you're able to lift and coast and be able to stretch this thing all the way to the end, it doesn't matter how slow you go for these laps, because as we saw, it takes almost 2 laps for someone to come down pit road, get just that splash of fuel, and get back out on the racetrack. And that's just kind of the case here with short track racing. So that strategy of just kind of easing off and stretching the fuel might work. And again, this is all under the assumption that these guys aren't going to have enough fuel left to make it to the end.
I do want to point out that the 6 of Joe Schaefer has locked up, leading the most laps here tonight. So bonus point for the 6 machine. He is going to be ecstatic about getting that, because he is in need of all the points he can get.
Yep, as mentioned, one of those guys that was caught up in that, basically the wreck that happened right off the drop of the green flag last week. So cost him a lot of points last week, and now having a good bounce back race, that'll definitely help him. Looking back though, we're talking about Steph Marinac and Bill Martin. That gap is definitely closed up now. Only 0.4 of a second. I remember a little while ago that was 1.4 seconds.
Marinac closing in. Bill Martin, big wiggle off at turn number 4. That is going to allow the 2 to inch ever so much closer. And Steph Marinac in that 2. He would love to get a podium finish here tonight. Help hold on to his points lead.
Gap at the front is continuing to shrink now. Only 0.2 of a second separate Joe Schaefer from Guillaume Fortin. That time at the line, a 1/4 of a second exactly separated those 2 cars. So definitely the battle is going to heat up between these two. They have been kind of evenly matched throughout the whole night.
Not only is the 13 closing in on the 6, but Bill Martin in the 39 has steadily been clawing back ground to get back into the fight for this lead. He is now flirting with a 2-second gap. At one point, it was up to 2.3 seconds. And Bill Martin might have something to say about this at the end of the race. Maybe he recognized that fuel issue and saved something a little bit sooner than everyone else.
Yeah, that may definitely be the case, as his lap times are dropping once again. He's kind of matching the pace set by Schaefer and Fortin at this point. At the same time, he's probably seen Marinac get closer and closer, and has finally decided to try to get that throttle down. But Marinac last time around was almost 1/10 of a second faster than Martin. This time across the line, about 1/2 of a tenth, so 0.05 of a second separated Martin and Marinac in terms of lap time.
Bill Martin in the 39 had a unique line down the backstretch there. I thought maybe he was signaling he was coming down pit road, but stays out. The 2 of Steph Marinac now taking a peek to the inside. Martin gonna stay high, and Bill Martin not even challenging for that spot. The 2 of Marinac now moving into 3rd place.
I thought Martin was going to, oh, here comes Martin now down pit road. So they definitely do not have enough fuel to make it to the end.
So Bill Martin from the front of the field, the first one of our leaders to hit pit road. Joe Schaefer in the 6, the 13 of Guillaume. When will they have to pit? Bill Martin having to pit. So that is a sign that, you know, if you're pitting from 3rd, 4th place, that is not an easy decision to make.
And Bill Martin now coming out of pit road, and we'll see how much time that has cost him, and this will be a good measuring stick to see kind of what to expect from these pit stops. As Bill Martin now getting back on the track, slotting in behind. Here comes another car down pit road. Looks like that's going to be the 11 of Hacker. Has to slow it down, almost loses the car there coming into pit road.
Now the problem with Bill Martin is he has rejoined the race in the midst of a heated battle between the 96 of Al Smith, the 81 of Jimmy McIntyre, and the 11 did come down pit road. Otherwise, that would have been 3 cars that Bill Martin would have had around him. The 88 of Matt McLean, even though he made his pit stop, McLean is still 2 laps down. Bill Martin only 1 lap down. Brian Hacker rejoining the race as well. He was in his pit stall for 7 seconds. We'll see if he can stay on the lead lap. AJ Rogers also has hit pit road and gotten back out there. So these green flag pit stops with less than 10 laps to go really shaking the field up.
Yeah, it's kind of just a splash and dash and seeing who can get the better pit stop here now. Is these guys in the front though just trying to stretch the fuel as long as they can go, and it's a risky game. If they stay out that 1 extra lap, they may catch a caution that close pit road when they need it, or they may just kind of miscalculate it and run out of fuel. So we'll have to keep an eye on the lead group here as Joe Schaefer, Guillaume Fortin both trying to save fuel, and I think Fortin, as I mentioned, might just be in that better spot with the help of that draft.
Both drivers have been driving fairly hard. The 2 of Steph Marinac trying to close the gap. He is 2.2 seconds behind the 13 of Guillaume Fortin. Marinac did come down pit road earlier in the night after he got caught up in that incident. He might have had the splash of fuel that he needed for that. We'll see if the 2 took fuel in, if he can make it to the end, but we're coming up with 4 laps to go. This race just about over, and a lot of questions up in the air about the 6 and the 13.
I mean, I watched Marinac's pit stop. He did not stay stopped in his box for long, so if he did take fuel at that time, it wasn't a lot of fuel. So we'll have to see if that 2 car did take enough fuel, or did take fuel, was it enough to get him to the end? That's the big question.
So many unknowns as we have now got 3 laps to go.
Yeah, laps are ticking down, only 3 to go. Does Schaefer and Fortin have enough fuel to make it to the end, and including the rest of the field? Will these guys have to come down pit road, or will they be able to make this fuel last? Lap 124 now, just a few more laps to go.
The 6, Joe Schaefer, not showing signs of slowing down just yet. He is starting to pull away from the 13. Maybe Guillaume trying to back his corners up a little bit, but it looks like white flag is going to fly. The 6 is going to try and run this all the way without a pit stop. Bill Martin, who did make his pit stop, is 1 lap down, all the way down in 10th place. And Joe Schaefer down the backstretch for the final time. Up off of turn number 4, checkered flag waving. The 6, Joe Schaefer, is gonna win it with the 13 of Guillaume finishing in 2nd. Steph Marinac brings it home in 3rd. And all that debate about the fuel, well, it was a good time filler, I guess.
Yeah, well, it did affect a couple of our guys, as we saw Bill Martin, Brian Hacker, AJ Rogers, Matt McLean. They all had to come down pit road, and all ended up costing them immensely. And really, Joe Schaefer, Guillaume Fortin, something's got to be said for the fact that they were able to not only drive so fast, but to be able to drive so fast and still have enough fuel to make it to the end.
As the 6, Joe Schaefer, celebrates his victory. Guys, don't go anywhere. We're gonna set up our Austin Designs post-race show and talk to our podium finishing drivers. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our Austin Designs post-race show fueled by Verge. And we have caught up with our race winner. That is the 6, Joe Schaefer. Joe, first off, congratulations on the race win out here tonight, man.
Hey, thank you. That was a tough one from the lead there.
Well, that 6 led 90 laps here tonight, and we were debating how much fuel was left in these machines, but it looked like you had enough to make it to the end of this thing and even do some celebratory burnouts. So how much fuel is exactly left in that thing?
Well, when I started the burnout, I was at 0.6 gallons. So I ended up 4 laps to the good. But about halfway through, I looked up at the relative and saw that everybody was falling back and not coming after me, and that's when I started looking at the fuel. And I gotta give it I mean, this one, I wouldn't have won this race without Drew Krybeck as my spotter. So he was tracking my fuel lap by lap by lap, telling me how much I needed to save. And we went from, I don't know, 15 laps short, 4 laps good. And that is probably the most difficult driving I've ever done by myself. Simply because I didn't know how much Guillaume had left, and I didn't know if guys had come down and topped off during that second caution, or if Steph was coming fast after maybe he had saved enough early on, and he was going full throttle to catch me. So I spent just as much time looking forward as I did in my mirror and on my relative. I didn't want to give up the lead because I wanted to control a restart. I knew one more caution and we'd for sure be good on fuel. So it was a war of wills, and my ankle hurts from just holding it off the throttle I love this track, man. So it was really tough for me to not just go after it. But the state of Virginia has been good to me in this upstate league on Thursdays.
Well, the race victory is yours. Not only that, but you led the most laps out here tonight. So a solid points night for you overall, as you got some ground to make up from unfortunate bad luck last week.
That's what happens. Yeah, it's one of those. That's just racing.
That is just racing, but this championship now 2 races deep, and the 6 machine with its first win of the chase. Man, congratulations. Any shout outs or thank yous you'd like to give?
Yeah, I think Verge Currency for sponsoring the whole series, Rumar Vinyl Designs for sponsoring the race tonight, and Drew Krybeck again with Epic Media, and what he did for me tonight. That was huge, and I really appreciate his.
All right, Joe, again, congratulations on the race win. Nice job out there tonight.
Hey, thank you.
That was Joe Schaefer. And Kelly, you've caught up with our second place finisher.
Yeah, caught up now with the driver of the number 13 machine, Guillaume Fortin. Guillaume, we heard from Schaefer the kind of fuel strategy that came into this race. What was your kind of strategy for saving enough to make it to the end?
Yeah, actually, I didn't know we were going to have to save fuel at the beginning. The reason I started saving was because Joe tell everybody that weren't gonna make it, so I need to give him a shout out for that. He's the reason why I finished the race, and I've never actually been good to saving fuel before, and so that's what I was scared like at the halfway point. But during the race, I was able to like back off the entry and just put half the throttle on the straightaway to make it to the end.
And coming into tonight, you were sitting in a fairly good spot in the point standings. And now, how are you feeling coming out of this race with another second place finish?
I'm feeling pretty good because the last 2 races, Phoenix and Richmond, were the 2 track that I wasn't looking forward, and I got a top 5 and now a top 2. So I'm pretty pumped up, and I think I have good chance for the championship.
Now going into Southern National next week, and what's kind of your expectations for that track?
I've got pretty high expectation because last year I qualified on the pole and I led all the lap that I did before I connection issue. So I'm really looking forward to Southern National. It's one of my best track out there, so I really want to be good there.
And hopefully you will be good there. And before we let you go, Guillaume, who do you wish to thank for the run you had tonight?
Yeah, I really want to thank Rumar Vinyl Design for sponsoring this race and also our car this year. I also want to thank 09 and all the guys back at the shop that are making me fast every week. They're the reason I'm there, and also you guys for broadcasting this race.
All right. Well, Guillaume, thank you very much for coming and talking to us, and hopefully we'll hear from you again next week.
I hope so. Thank you.
That was Guillaume Fortin, driver number 13 and our second place finisher. And now, KR, I believe you're going to catch up with our third place finisher.
I have caught up with the two of Steph Marinac. Steph, that two machine looks like it has done a little bit of damage on the right side. We saw you got caught up in an incident. Tell us about your race here tonight.
Yeah, it was pretty eventful. Had to overcome some adversity here in the second race, but yeah, that wreck happened really fast off of turn 2, and I probably hit like 4 or 5 cars in it, but I didn't hit anyone very hard, and I didn't have any damage when I came down pit road, so I got really lucky, and came down pit road, came out 11th, so I only lost like 2 spots, and just tried to carve my way through the field.
Well, that two machine carved its way through for sure, and I haven't seen the points total, but a third place finish here tonight. I believe you're going to continue to hold on to the race lead as Justin McDuff, your closest competitor coming into tonight, has had some issue and had an early exit. But that two machine with a new paint job out here tonight, outstanding drive, man. It was just impressive to watch.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean they're falling down, but I mean Guillaume and Joe are coming back up. So they made up. I know Joe made up some good points on me tonight, and I got 4 incidents, so I didn't get the bonus for that. So it's still pretty close, but you got to take it one race at a time and try to beat those guys that you're battling. And yeah, I had to bring out the magic car at least one race this season, and I just painted this car for my cup car, so I figured I'd bring it over on the late model.
Well, it looks solid out there. The Empire Racing Team logo on it as well. Man, before we let you go, any shout outs or thank yous you'd like to give?
Yeah, big thanks to Rumar Vinyl Design for sponsoring the race and Fueled by Verge for sponsoring the series this season. And then shout out to all my teammates at Empire Racing Team and you guys for doing the broadcast.
All right, Steph, again, congratulations on third place. Nice job out there.
Thanks, guys.
All right, and once again, well, we're going to do a real quick talk with the 6 of Joe Schaefer because apparently Joe has more to add. Joe, welcome back.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me back. Sorry, I just need to chime in and send a thank you to Cody Thompson for throwing together this paint scheme for me in a hurry. I figured it would be fitting for me to run the 6 this week, given what happened at Daytona. So that one really affected me. So I'm glad Cody could put that together in such a hurry for me, and I appreciate his help too.
Well, that 6 is a sharp-looking car, and yeah, we all, both me and Kelly, talked about how it was in honor of Ryan Newman. So glad to see it out there tonight.
Hey, thank you, and thanks for letting me come back in and mention that. I feel like a jerk for not thinking of that right away, but I guess I was preoccupied with all the fuel saving talk.
It is easy to get distracted. Trust me, I do it all the time.
Well, it was a fun night, and thank you guys. I'm looking forward to watching the broadcast tomorrow.
All right, that is Joe Schaefer getting in one final shout out and a worthy one at that. So, Kelly, Richmond in the books. Next week, the Southern Heat presented by Race Replicas by Kenny Johnson. That is going to be an outstanding race as well. But tonight, we slowed for 2 cautions. and we saw one huge pileup at the back or on the back stretch, and took out a few drivers, but few of them soldiered on, and one of them even ended up on the podium.
Yeah, Steph Marinac really battled back from that incident that he was involved in. I think it was just some fantastic driving in that incident to kind of avoid any further damage. I mean, we saw that car; that thing looked fairly clean, except for a little bit of damage on that right side. And I'm excited to see what the point standings kind of shape up to. I mean, we don't have the luxury of having people to quickly crunch the numbers live for the broadcast, so we won't be able to see what the numbers are going to look like for a few days at least. But I mean, I'm sure we're going to see McDuff drop a little bit, but we're going to see probably Guillaume, I think, jump up into second and be very close behind Steph Marinac. And Schaefer has definitely got himself back into contention with this win. So I mean, the chase is just going to get more exciting as these weeks go on, and I think we're not going to have a winner decided until the March 12th.
Yeah, it is going to come down to that doubleheader night, the final two races of the season of the chase, and that is a night I have circled on my calendar that I look forward to. But for tonight, nothing left but our race results. Joe Schaefer, your race winner. Guillaume finishing in second. Steph Marinac in third. Jimmy McIntyre going to finish in fourth place in that 81 machine. And Al Smith ending up with a top 5.
Justin Fuller going to come home in 6th. Andy Lambert in 7th. Matt Roll goes from 18th to finish in 8th. Jeremy Carpenter will be our last car on the lead lap, finishing in 9th. Bill Martin, our first car one lap down, rounds out our top 10.
11th place going to the 11 machine of Brian Hacker. AJ Rogers finishing in 17th. The 17 machine finishing in 12th. 13th going to the 88 of Matt McLean. Brian Rogers finishing in 14th. And Jeremy Watkins in 15th spot.
Justin McDuff comes home in 16th. 17th, we'll see Ty Cole. 18th is Chris Stump. 19th, AJ Hamill. And our 20-car field is rounded out by Brett Bartels.
All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up for myself and Kelly Dahl. And Kelly, thank you so much for joining me. And as you are such a great wordsmith, I'm going to let you sign us off tonight.
A fantastic race here at Richmond, and I'm sure we're just going to get even more excitement at Southern National Motorsports Park. So be sure to come back next week in the Turn 3 Racing Network for the Southern Heat presented by Race Replicas by Kenny Johnson. And until then, we hope you have a fantastic night, and we'll see you next week.
Clear?
Yay.
See what you can do, man.
Wait.
That's a strike right there.
Connect with family and friends. Go bowling.